All right, computer is getting a little bit slow, but here I am. Hi, everyone. So welcome to the closing panel of TIPE Day 2. So this is it. We're getting to the end. Everything must end, even good things. Thank you all for still being with us at the end of the day, at the end of day 2. So for this panel, I want to bring the women who have been on the deck for 2 days. So they've really been on all day for 2 days as your moderators, your coordinators, your event planners, and they have worked tirelessly for the last 12 months to put this event together. So, and while they were doing this, they were also having, well, life going on, right? So full-time jobs, families to take care of, and well, like all of us, well, a pandemic to be scared of, right? And yet, well, they're here, they made it happen. I'm really proud to call all of them my friends, and I want to welcome them on stage. So Amy, Melanie, Sarah, Kristin, Maddie, if you can turn on your camera, you know how to do that. You've been telling everyone to do it for 2 days. Here we go. Awesome. So thank you. I'm glad to have you here. So we're gonna have, 45 minutes together where I can ask you questions. So I guess my first one is really about the conference itself, and the content, because you have been really at the heart of it for, again, 2 days within your tracks. And so like everyone else, you were not able to see what the other tracks have been about. I mean, you have an idea, you were part of the selecting committee, so but still, you haven't seen really what happened elsewhere. So I would like for each of you to maybe share, and it's going to be really hard, I know, but to share maybe a few of the highlights you've had in your tracks, and what you would recommend people who would want to go to the replay to really watch. So I don't know who want to go first. I'm gonna pick Amy because technology is the first letter of TIPE. Sorry, Amy, I hope you have an answer. But yeah, what was the highlight for you?
I have a lot of highlights, so you'll just stop. So we started out talking about printing ships and buildings, concrete, submarines, lots of these big things, and then all the way down, these mega structures, all the way down to microstructure control, and the technology and expertise that goes into material development. We had a really great panel, the first block on using the synchrotron to characterize materials in situ, which I thought was very mind-blowing. We talked about printing Teflon and tungsten and batteries. That was a really cool talk. We talked about how you can optimize them, make them smaller, which is just going to be so important for the future. We then had a panel on biomaterials. There's just so much impact right now in the medical industry using 3D printing. There are tissues that you can print that bleed that can be used for surgical practice. It's just really, really amazing. But with that, we have to, temper our expectations and be humble and not overhype the technology so that we don't disappoint at the same time. Just a few more notes. We have continuous carbon fiber printing, liquid aluminum jetting, which was a really neat technology by Xerox. And then following that, in our Real Tech block, we had just all the concerns and issues and value adds for surface finishing and post-processing. And then today we learned about how we can 3D print our own star, which me and Abby are going to be doing tonight. It's the Chandra telescope has imaged these stars, and then Dr. Kimberly Arcand has made them digital for us in STL form. And then we wrapped up the day talking about digital workflows, how that's enabling this vision that hardware companies can now launch products with the speed of a software company. Actually, they can't do that now, but they want to, right? And that's what the digital workflow is enabling us to do with 3D printing. And then we know that when you are considering your digital thread, you should be considering that at the beginning, as Janet told us earlier. And there's a lot of math that goes into manufacturing. We need processing speed for that. There's just a lot to it. We just had a really excellent track. I was just so pleasantly surprised by all the tech that's out there right now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amy. And that was a great recap. And yes, there was a lot going on, like on all the tracks. So you were right taking notes because it can be easy to even forget what was the very first talk yesterday. But no, I mean, all the talks were pretty amazing. And yeah, so thank you for this recap. So who feels like about going next? Melanie?
Okay, I can go next. I'm the next letter in the name. This is kind of like if someone asked me, what is your favorite child's name? Because it's like, you love them all, you know, how do you even do a recap? But I definitely have a few highlights that stuck with me. So we started day one talking about end use applications and spare parts. We had Kristin as a speaker talking about some end use parts, which was awesome. We also had Ashley Toden of America Makes talking about the AMNAW program, which is using additive to support Army readiness. So I loved hearing about that. We talked about flying, driving, and walking AM, and we had an awesome speaker from Boeing, Melissa Orm. We had Ford Motor Company, Ellen Lee. What I loved about Ellen's presentation is she had some of the parts that she talked about actually in her hand, and she would hold them up and show them. I always love that because it makes it the technology more real. It's not just something that you're seeing on a screen or hearing about. So I love those presentations. We had a great aerospace panel. Today it was kind of shifting from the sort of heavy industry, you know, aerospace, automotive kind of use cases. And today was all about consumer usage of AM and also medical uses. And on the consumer uses side, so many amazing things and just a lot of different applications that I didn't even know about. We had a really cool panel that had Claire Chabot, Fusion Bra. We had Marine Corbelis, and I'm completely butchering these names because they have beautiful French names, and Nora can pronounce them correctly and I cannot. But she does 3D printing for food and baked goods. So they were just super cool because it's just not something that you necessarily think of immediately. There was also a really cool 3D printed fashion designer, Danette Pellig. She's going to be releasing, I think, some of her models on her website for download, so you can actually print some of your own fashion. I thought that was super cool. Then this afternoon, we kind of closed on a little bit more serious note, but really how AM has impacted and is impacting everything from surgeries to implants to training, and it was really impactful. Katie Wormer from 3D Systems gave a really good presentation actually showing how AM has enabled and basically given life back to people that have needed facial transplant kind of surgeries, conjoined twins kind of applications. And so it was really impactful to just see like AM is making a huge difference. And then one of the highlights for me was definitely Dr. Ruchi Patek. She's a surgeon, a maxillofacial surgeon, and she gave a perspective from a surgeon's perspective on how this has truly changed how she does surgeries and has actually enabled her to do surgeries that she wouldn't have been able to do without 3D printing. So, and then of course we closed with that awesome point of care panel that Mara Hittner, Matter Hackers moderated. So it was so awesome. Thank you to all the speakers. If I didn't mention your name, I still think that you're amazing, but just a few highlights from industry.
Thank you, Melanie. And yes, your track certainly had a lot of, well, it was about industrial application, right? But it's true that you've seen a lot. And so that was a really a very interesting track to be on if you really wanted to see like how AM is used throughout different industries. So, sorry, thank you for the, I guess I talked too much, but thank you for the highlights. Sorry, you want to go next?
Okay, so the P in TIPE was people. We wouldn't be here. The technology wouldn't be here without the people making it happen. So on day one of the conference, we focused on career advancement in the people track and how to get your career started, how to advance it, some amazing advice that like I wish I'd been taking notes on, but thank goodness for recordings. Just throughout this industry about how to build, shape careers and technology from I really just want to like read the name of every speaker on my track, but you have an agenda for that. But everyone was amazing. We had a standout yesterday for me personally was a double fireside chat that I had with Ruha Rehani and Heather Baker. respectively EOS and Fast Radius, where we talked about actionable diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and how to really make a difference. And that conversation is still happening on LinkedIn in my inboxes, and I love it. We announced Women in 3D Printing's involvement with the World Economic Forum initiative to bring safe work-at-home manufacturing and training underserved communities. And that's an initiative I'm personally so passionate about. Any companies looking to get involved with that, please reach out. We are making things happen. I tried counting the number of CEOs and PhDs we had in the people track, and I stopped at a dozen. We just had some incredible speakers. Day 2 today was people in tech focus and focusing on what people are making happen with the technology. And we did start with a keynote panel here on the main stage. I hope a lot of you had the opportunity to join that one since it was for everyone. We had some of the forefront leaders in this industry, the CEOs of 3D control systems, the EOS, and Proto Labs, as well as the CMO at HP 3D Printing, and it was just a remarkable conversation. This afternoon we had 2 book authors who are, getting this information into our hands physically, and we had perspectives from Japan, from South Africa, from the US, from France. I love that even though we're not able to be physically together right now, we could have this truly global conference with all of these perspectives. And I just thank you to everyone in the people track who spoke and who shared their time and insights. And my heart is full, and so is my brain. I need a nap. I'm going to nap for
well, you certainly did a good job of resuming the people track, and you certainly had very inspiring talks happening in that track. Powerful talks. I know
amazing.
One of my
Huge
personal,
topics.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm going to say. One of my personal favorite. I shouldn't say it because all the talks were absolutely fantastic, but Lisa, I don't know if you're here and you see us right now, but Lisa Block's talk was absolutely inspirational, amazing.
Block from Hybrid Manufacturing Technologies.
Yeah.
Please watch that talk. Just incredible. Yeah,
that was an incredible talk. So anyway, thank you. And again, very powerful talks that happen in the people track, important discussions that I'm really glad we're having, because I don't feel like we're having a lot of those discussions in the public space, even though we are talking about it every day almost, especially at Women in 3D Printing, but I felt like it was a good thing to put them out there and to make sure that everyone was part of those very important conversations. Sorry, my vote again.
Everyone.
Yeah, I guess boring. I have tea. But yeah. Anyway, so thank you, Sarah. Kristin, you want to go next?
Sure. So I was the economics / economy track, depending on the block that we were going on. We start off with sustainability and circular economies. Very first speaker, Nadia Fani, she called in from Holland, and it was a great way to start the conference, because one of my favorite things about this whole thing has been the global nature of it. It's been so great seeing, we had speakers on my track from Brazil, from Egypt, from all over Europe. It was really cool to see, and everyone brought a very different perspective, and that was kind of, I think that was a lot of the idea behind the economics and economy track, was to kind of bring this global focus and focus more on, what's going on different regions of the world. We live in these little pockets, and even if we have international jobs, which most of us do, we see it from a personal level. And I think that was really nice to see that with a lot of these speakers. So having Nadia start, she's Italian, but she lives in Holland. And she did a presentation on 3D concrete printing for the oceans. And she's doing a lot of good research and developed her own printer to do this. And I'm really excited because she's got a lot going on this year. And so I'm really excited next year to have her back, hopefully, and to kind of update us on what happened. She's kind of laid the groundwork, and now we get a year and we can see it again. So that's fun. That's something to look forward to. We had a fantastic panel in that section on sustainability and circular economies, moderated by Sarah O'Sell. I mean, she always comes more prepared than anyone I've ever seen in my life, and it really paid off, and I loved it. It was really, really proud of her for that panel and all of the contributors to that. I think one of my very favorites of that day, and maybe of the whole thing, was Dina Al-Mahdi. She is a professor at the British University in Egypt, and she spoke on, she's an architect, and she spoke on studying insect behavior to apply to 3D building in architecture. And it was just fascinating. It was such a different perspective. I'm so used to kind of more the industrial space. And so she had this really interesting perspective. And it's an interest of hers personally that she's been able to translate into the 3D printing world. And I would love to hear more about what she's doing, because I think we just touched the surface on studying how ants and wasps build their homes and how we can translate that into, because they essentially are 3D printing their homes. So it's really interesting, that one. Second day, we got into go-to-market and entrepreneurship. I think the first block went really well, because we had a really nice progression of, we started with, how to start your business with Lee Beth Nelson, and then how to grow your business with Suzanne, and then what to essentially do with all of that with Haley Ann, and then rounding it up with a panel of entrepreneurs. So it was a really interesting progression on how seeing that that whole process. That worked out really well. And then we ended with finance and value-added processes. And Jennifer Walsh was one of the group people in that. I was really looking forward to that, to hear, because she seems to do so much. And it was nice to hear her talk. She's CFO and COO at Shapeways. She also has 8-year-old twins, and she also helps her husband run her business. And it just was, one of the questions someone asked is, how do you do it all? And I just thought it was, something that we all kind of ask, at some point, how do you do it all? And, she had the very simple advice of just being present. When you're working, you're working. When you're with your family, you're with your family. And I thought it was simple, but really to the point. And she also commented when someone asked, about being the only woman on the board. She, she had a much more eloquent answer, but it summed up with just own it and just go with it. And I really liked how matter of fact she was. So I think this block, or this track, was a lot more diverse than some of the other ones in terms of topics, but really, really interesting because of it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kristin. And yes, your track was really at the crossroad, I think, between people, industry, technology. Also tackle so many important topics that we usually don't talk about. Circular economies is usually not something we really talk about in the mainstream of additive manufacturing, not as much as I think we should. So I was really glad that we were able to put something together, and amazing speakers to talk about this topic. And talking about Dina, absolutely, I'm a huge fan as well. So we actually have her interview on women in 3D printing. We did her interview a few months ago. For anyone who is interested in hearing more, you can also go on the Women 3D Printing website, find Dina on the published interviews, and you'll have a fun read over there.
I mean, it was definitely one of my personal goals with this conference, was to bring in people who we don't normally hear from at, AMUG and Rapid and all of the conferences, and I think we were successful in a lot of that, and bringing in some of these more outside opinions and outside topics that are just as interesting, but they just don't seem to make it in anywhere else. No,
agreed. A very interesting conversation that's happening on the chat about the shirts. So actually, so I cannot talk about Melanie's t-shirts, but the TIPE shirts we do, I think it's still ongoing. Andira can let us know in the chat. Yep, here we go. I have mine as well, but anyway, I guess I don't have it on me right now. But we have a social media contest going on, and I think we're going to announce the winners on social media probably later tonight or during the happy hour. So anyway, it's still going on. So just saying. Here we go. Thank you, Andira. So 2 medium type t-shirts available. All right, Maddie, you want to bring us home and share us a bit about what happened in the youth track?
For sure, yes. Thank you, Nora. Yeah, so the youth track was absolutely phenomenal for the past few days. We had 4 different blocks: personal journeys, Hire Me, I'm Young, which is based on getting a job as a young person, creative applications, which was called Tech with a Twist, and then also education. So we had a lot of really, really interesting talks, and we had a lot of people, echoing what Kristin said, from around the world that came onto our panels. We had some people from Denmark, definitely a couple people from the States, a few people over from Asia, such as Singapore, and I think actually both of them were from Singapore, yeah. And so it's just really exciting to have a multinational group of people. And what I think is probably the coolest part about the TIPE conference in general is that it is all online and it was free to attend. So it really democratized the knowledge, which normally that's a big thing about AMUG and Rapid. You can't go unless you have funding. So you have to be funded by usually your work, you know? And so I think a lot of people were able to learn about 3D printing and concepts that they weren't exposed to previously at this conference, which I love. And the TIPE track, of course, again, we focused on some really cool things. And again, the TIPE track was very, very inspirational, aimed more towards young people. And I have to say, though, just because it was aimed towards young people doesn't mean that the content that was shared is only applicable to young people. And some of my highlights, again, every talk was phenomenal, but some of my highlights would have to be SJ's Declassified Metal Survival Guide, who used metal 3D printing as an allegory to get through life and get through working in a very high octane place such as metal 3D printing. It was phenomenal. The comments were that during her talk were, this should be something that every engineer should watch first day in AM. And I was like, wow, this is so true. It was absolutely phenomenal. My hat is off to SJ. There was a really great presentation by Darlene Ferris-Labar, where she talked about a lot of her work in nature and 3D printing. And I was not expecting it to be as exciting and interesting as it was, because she uses art and 3D printing to study nature and use it for science. And that was really cool, because it had some great visuals, like seeing the pattern of rain 3D visualized and printed as it hits a flower and these different flower geometries. Very, very cool. And also another one that I loved was the Create a 3D Startup panel that we had. It came together very last minute. So it was great that we had two of these wonderful women, Kristin LaPerla and Irene Northrup, if I'm saying her last name correctly. And we had a lot of people join us, and they shared a lot of really good information for anyone that's looking to be a little bit more entrepreneurial. And then probably the last panel of the day in the youth track, which was with Dara Dotz, Claire Shabad, and Leanne Glock, was so good. And they're all friends, so they had a great chemistry going on. It was really great to listen to them. And Jadika as well. She did a really great presentation in the youth track. We had some technical difficulties, but if you get past that, the content she was sharing was so inspirational too. And so, yeah, that was kind of the youth track in a summary. We had some great people, again, talking about their COVID response. We had young people as young as juniors in high school presenting, and all the way up to PhDs. So it was really, really great just to see the multi-generational come together within the TIPE track. And one last thing I have to say, that someone actually LinkedIn messaged me about the TIPE conference, and they said that this was the best conference that they've had yet since going virtual with COVID. So hats off, guys. This is phenomenal. Yay.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is really nice to hear. And well, yeah, I don't even know what to say. Thank you. And thank you, Maddie, for this recap. And actually in your track, you had a few persons who are really close to my heart. So Darlene, you don't know it. I know you're here because I saw you writing there, but I think your pieces were one of the first I've seen in my entire career. And that was, I think, a 3D printing show. I know the show doesn't exist anymore, in New York. It was snowy like crazy. I don't know if you remember. Anyway, that was years ago now. And I got into this show, and it was like depressing. I was alone in New York. It was one of my first time. Love New York, don't get me wrong, but anyway, I was there for work, right? And get into there, and I think I was alone on that trade show as well, so quite depressing sometimes. And I get into the show, and here I see Darlene's pieces on the wall, beautiful pieces, and just like, I was like, wow, this is gorgeous, you know, and that's all I needed to make my day. So thank you, Darlene. You had no idea, I think, but you made my day that day years ago, and I still remember. And I still love hearing about your pieces, and seeing you being part of our conference does something to me. And then, so yeah, you remember, Maddie remembers, yeah. Yeah, fantastic. And Judika, I consider her to be one of my personal mentor. She's so inspiring. I get so much from her. So I'm really glad that she could be part of the track as well. And I wanted her to share that with others, especially in the youth track, the impact she had on me. So I'm really glad that this happened. And Dara, I'm a huge fan of Dara since Field Ready. So hearing her story, her journey, along with Claire's and Leanne was really, really good. So anyway, thank you, Maddie, for the recap. I think you were spot on. That was a beautiful track that I have to say to everyone, the youth track was not part of the original plan of TIPE. Otherwise, it would be TIPE P, I guess, which might change for next year, because I think we're definitely keeping a youth track. You might need to find a better name, though. So we'll see. But really, really glad that we did it. It added a lot to the conference. And thank you, Maddie, for riding with us and for making it happen. So now we have about 20 more minutes. I had another question, but I see like questions in the Q&A panel, 2 of them. If there are more, go ahead, but I'm going to go through those for now. So
hey, Nora, before you move on, can we just really quickly comment on why we added that youth track? Because I think it's kind of addresses what you were going to ask anyways, in terms of just the massive volume of quality speakers submissions that we got.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're inspired by a lot of the stories we could see from the speaker submissions of young female, of women who were willing to share with the younger generation, and we could fit them into the other tracks, but then it would have been like probably a 3-day long conference, first thing, but the real reason was that we felt like it was deserving its own track. There was so much happening there of knowledge sharing, mentorship that was just waiting to happen, that we wanted to make it happen. So that was my main reason. I don't know, Kristin, if you had something else in mind, because I know you also how we work. We're a team, so sometimes we disagree. Most of the time we agree, otherwise we would not have been able to pull this together. Sometimes we disagree, so I don't know, Kristin, if you had something else you wanted to add.
I mean, just for me, it was really simple, is that we had, it was unbelievable, and so, you know, it makes me a bit teary almost, the quality and the number of submissions we had to speak at this conference. It was really inspiring and really heartwarming, for lack of a better word. And I just think we had so many speakers that we wanted to make sure got a platform, and we just couldn't cut them all. And that's why we saw, I think, you know, we had so many panels as well. We wanted to make sure we got everyone involved that, you know, and there were still people that we couldn't get involved that we wanted to. So we were successful, I think, in highlighting the just massive quality of women in this industry. Because like I said, a lot of people didn't make the cut, and but they were just as deserving as well.
Yeah, that's actually a good transition to actually the first question from Kim. Is there another type in the works for next year? So there's definitely going to be another type next year, where we're hoping to actually have some of the speakers we're not able to have on stage this year. Is it in the works now? Hell no. I need rest. I think the entire team needs rest. So we have ideas on what we want to do, what we want to probably not repeat. Actually, we are going to send a survey to everyone, our sponsors, our delegates, really to our partners after the conference, to again, get better, get your honest feedback. If you have other feedback that will not fit into the survey, call us. You know us, most of you. So give us a call. Let us know. If you want to be part of the committee, yes, absolutely. We need more arms. We need more brains. We need more power putting this together. But yeah, no, it's not in the works right now. No.
Can we do a quick shout out to all the volunteers on that note that we had?
Yeah, actually, we wanted to bring them on stage at some point. Yes.
This was put together by so many people, so they all deserve a lot of credit.
Yes, and I want
our digital ambassadors.
Yeah, the digital ambassadors. I know they're not all here because actually some are in the tracks covering, making sure everything goes smoothly. Some had to go, but yes, a big shout out to all the volunteers who worked. And I want to give like a special kudo to Janet. I think everyone knows Janet, right? And so we would seriously not be on Remo, have pushed it so far without Janet's help. I know she worked entire nights without telling us, especially the last few nights. So on a few glitches that I know she wouldn't tell us, but she made it happen, and I think it went really smooth. So thank you, Janet. Special kudos to you. All right, we have another question here. So I guess I answered the first one. Let me check that. At track leaders, did you notice a difference compared to other conferences in the tone or content of the talks and panel discussions that was enabled by this all-female platform?
Yeah, I can start, Nora.
I would say,
if you don't.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this yesterday and actually talking about it to a few of the attendees, and it was really nice to have new content. Because many times with these events, you know, companies or presenters can be the same, and they tend to and just sort of refresh it a little bit for each event. This was like the most new content in one place of other conferences. Nothing was really recycled, and it was, even if it was similar content, it's a fresh perspective because you have now a female talking about it versus some of their male counterparts. So there was a lot of differences. I think tons of positivity, but that was one I definitely noticed was on the content and perspective side was different and refreshing.
I think
Definitely, and I would love to add, sorry, that something I noticed, especially in the people track, because of the conversations, the topics we were covering, no one was shying away from hard conversations. I remember a couple of years ago, I was at an event and it was very clearly one woman per table at an 8-table dinner. And there were, seating charts. And I looked around and said, oh, I guess I'm the token woman at this table. And the 7 gentlemen I was sitting with all said, oh, no, it's not like that. I was like, it is like that. And we need to acknowledge that. And it's okay. I'm glad we're spread out so we can be represented, but it is like that. And they didn't see it until I pointed it out. But at this event, we didn't have to point it out. We know. We know we're here. There are 11 to 13% of us in this industry. And it is rising, and we need to talk about that. And in my track, woman after woman, speaker after speaker was honing in on the courage that every woman in this industry has just for being here, for being the only engineer graduating in her class, for being the only woman interested in STEM and STEAM initiatives, for being the only woman in the boardroom. And this is really the first time we've been able to talk openly about that on a stage in front of an audience, instead of like, oh, I guess I'm the only woman here. Like, we're not the tokens here. There is no token at this event. Everyone is welcome, but it's a more open conversation when we're able to welcome more diversity and have more people on stage, different faces. We can have different conversations and focus on the truths behind the courage needed to take leadership and step into these roles and just to work, just to have a job. Sometimes it takes different points, and I love that no one shied away from that this time.
And I would like to thank the men who were coming to our conference, who were here, whether the entire time, a few hours, just supporting a colleague who was on stage. This is so important. We've had some talk on LinkedIn specifically of men who were not understanding the concept of the conference. Like we replied to them, but I really wanted to thank those who made it, who came, who understood, and who are allies. And I think the strength of this conference is that, yes, it was all female speakers. Yes, it was brought up by Women in 3D Printing, but we talked about women-specific kind of topic in the sense that our struggles in the day-to-day, that we should not judge, we should still talk about them. But we also talked about just additive, because we're all here for that same reason, right? And so I think that's really, that was a good balance. And that was a risk that we all took, because it could have turned completely differently. But anyway, I want to first slowly echoing what Toure is saying, and thanking all the men who joined the journey and who are with this.
I'd like to add to that in terms of, it was on the panel this morning, and the question was submitted and Michelle Bachman answered it in terms of how men can support women in the industry. And she had said, just, be an ally. And I think that's what this has shown, that there's been such a huge amount of men that showed up to this event. And I really was hoping that would happen, because that, that's what you're doing. You're just being an ally. You're being a part of it, and you're supporting, and you're not making, you're here. Right. So that's awesome.
All right. Let me see if we have another question. Yes, there is one last question here. Is there any follow-up or showcase events coming up during the year? Oh, yeah. So we actually have quite a lot of chapters. And actually, they were not too present during this conference because of the time zone difference most of the time. But shout out to our ambassadors. As I said yesterday in some of the key, was that yesterday already? Gosh, yeah, in the opening keynote, some of the key metrics of women in 3D printing. So we have a team of 89 ambassadors throughout the world who are almost every month putting together events, local events. So not necessarily with the crowd we have here and now. So sometimes it's just a group of 5. Others you can have bigger groups of 50 to 60. It varies, depends on the topic, but always having you know, like either like just a chat. So that was before COVID. They even used to, you know, meet in just a bar or a restaurant, get together. I mean, actually, Kristin and Melanie, you are both ambassadors. That's how you really started with Women in 3D Printing, right? That's how we got to know each other, from you being ambassadors. And so what's happening on the local level is as important as what's happening right now on this stage. And so thank you to all ambassadors for making it happen. Every month, every day, and representing women in 3D printing in 32 countries. Gosh, 72 chapters. That's what we have today. So yes, we have events happening. Stay tuned. Usually we publish them on social media, through our newsletter, on the website. We probably need to get better at, you know, having local newsletters, but all of us are volunteers, in case you didn't know that. So absolutely everything in the everyone in the organization is a volunteer, and so we do our best. But in terms of communication, maybe that's a point I can take for 2021. But anyway, yes, we have events coming up. I heard Women in 3D Printing is launching a mentorship program. How do we get involved? Yeah, absolutely. So we'll share more. Actually, Maddie, do you want to share more? Because this is part of the Women in 3D Printing Next Gen. I know you're part of that.
Yeah, definitely. So we are developing this mentorship program within Women in 3D Printing. And I don't know if anyone has the link handy to bring up the, does anyone have that? They can. We have like a little panel with the QR code. Yeah, Janet, where are you? But anyways, that will give you the information on where to find it. So currently we are actually recruiting for both mentors. So if you want to be a mentor within our program, it doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, or a non-binary, we'll take anyone. And also the same thing with mentees. So if you're a student or a young professional that's looking to get a mentor with Women in 3D Printing and be matched with one, you'll have an opportunity to speak with a lot of different mentors. And it's almost like a speed dating kind of thing, you know, where you choose the one that you like and they choose you, and then it's good to go. So if you're interested in becoming a mentor or mentee, it does not matter your gender, it doesn't matter your position if you're a professional, feel free to sign up. There should be more information on Women in 3D Printing's website as we go forward in the youth portion of that. And then also check out on LinkedIn as well, because I'm sure we're going to be doing a blitz in the next couple of days. So that's my updates for the mentorship program. I encourage everyone to get involved if they're interested.
Thank you, Maddie. All right, so we have a few more minutes left. I don't know if there are any more questions. I don't see any in the Q&A, or if anyone wants to share final remark. And then otherwise, I will jump in and announce the scavenger hunt winners. So.
Nora, just really quick, because I know you're too humble to talk about it yourself, but thank you for having this vision for Women in 3D Printing, and just echoing what's going on in the chat. You know, there's people thanking you for not only this, but for starting Women in 3D Printing. So personally, from me, thank you. From the chats I'm reading, everyone thanks you, Nora.
Well, thank you. No, it's well, thank you. And it's oh wow, yes, the chat is going a little bit wild. Yeah, thank you, everyone. You're actually making me bug my pages, telling me like, do you want to exit? No, I don't. But if I do, it's not my fault. You are having my browser bugging. But no, seriously, thank you. It's been an incredible journey those last 6 years, and I grew so much. Like, you have no idea how much I've learned. I started this when I was like, I'm not going to say my age because then you're going to know how old I am now. But anyway, I wasn't that old. Didn't know anything about anything. If I, you know, anyway, I shared my story already and why I share, you know, why I started it. So I'm not going to redo this now. But I honestly never even Googled, like, is there another Woman in 3D Printing blog out there? So, you know, we never do today. I've learned so just the basics of that I've learned. But anyway, I think there was a need for it in the community. I just happened to be the first one to start it. But I'm definitely not the only one who bring it where it is today, for sure. And those who know me, you know, there are a number of times I'm like, I'm done. And I'm not going to hide it. Like, it is what it is, because it's hard. It's and again, as I said, we're all volunteering and doing this as side activities, and sometimes it can be tough when you see a mailbox that's constantly full, and that's not even your full-time job mailbox, and a list of to-do lists that's never empty, because that's how I am. But then I'm like, what am I doing if I'm not doing it? So And when I'm seeing the responses there is here, I'm gonna have to download the chat to read it all and not crying in front of you. So I'll do this later. But anyway, I know it's an amazing journey, but thank you for being here with me, doing it with me, and yeah, it's been incredible. So thank you. Yes, so we will send, I'm looking at the last question here. So yes, we're going to send a link to the mentorship program.
I actually just put it in the chat as well. So if you go to the general chat, it's there. If you want, I can put in the Q&A so it doesn't get buried too, in case it has. I don't know, it's still up there. So if you want to go ahead and click on that, and that's the sign-up form to become a mentor or be entered as a mentee.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Maddie. And I think we lost Sarah. I think you made her computer bug. That was too much. All right. So with that, let's announce the scavenger hunt. What do you think? Because I know who won the printer. I'm not being very nice right now. Okay, let me pull it up. Okay, share screen. See, it's bugging. Not my fault. I swear, I'm not doing this on purpose to keep the momentum going. Yes, wait, see, I'm just joking. Okay, oh, here we go. All right, can you see my screen? Because it's asking me 3 times now.
Now we can see it.
Okay. Are you sure you can see it? Because it keeps asking me. Wait.
I see it.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't see it on my end, but I guess that's okay. If you see it, that's totally fine. Okay, so the Trump prize goes to Beth Borning. Congratulations. I don't know, Beth, if you're here, but congratulations. I will email you to make sure you're seeing this and that you get your Trump prize. So you are getting a 3D printed globe with your name on it. All right, so congratulations. Again, I don't see my screen, so can you tell me it's going to the next one? You should if you were seeing my screen.
We can see it.
Perfect. So G Additives prize, so marketplace tote filled with an umbrella, bond journal, Contigo Kangaroo bottle goes to Anjali Sridharan. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, but congratulations, Anjali. Great job. And I wanted to do the roller thing and all of that, but again, I don't see my screen how I'm sharing with you, so I have no idea if it's going to share when I want it. But the grand prize of a 3D printer by Matter Packers goes to Elizabeth Zell. Congratulations. I think everyone is jealous right now. Congratulations. Wonderful. So all of you, I will email you tonight. So check your mailboxes because you have 24 hours to confirm that you got my email and send me your mailing addresses. Otherwise, it goes to someone else. So just saying. All right, trying to get my screen off now, and I don't know if that's gonna work. You still see my screen, right?
Yes,
We see the Matter Hackers Grand Prize.
Okay, that's gonna be annoying because I don't know how to stop it. Okay, here we go.
There you go. Can we, before we break, I want to make sure we call out Ondera and Cynthia and Christina before we all leave.
Yes, so actually there are a few individuals I would love to bring on stage if we can, and I don't know if we're gonna hit the limit of Remo, but I would love to welcome, so let's see. Ondera, if you're here, please get your cam on. Cynthia, Janet, and Christina. Wonderful.
Christina had to drop, but she sent her.
Okay, so she's here with us. And Janet, where are you? Janet is everywhere normally.
She's trying to be dramatic.
Dramatic bandwidth on her computer. I know it was running really slow and crashed out.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
She was busy fixing everyone else.
Yes, exactly. So you've been with us the entire time, even though you were not necessarily on the stage with us all the time. But same, without you, we would not have made this conference to what it was today. So, and yesterday. So thank you. Awesome. So now, okay, so it's actually, wow, we wrapped it up exactly on time. This is absolutely perfect. So we can't have drinks in person. Unfortunately, it is what it is. That being said, I know everyone has more or less a glass or a huge cup of tea, which is not actually a bit disgusting, but it is what it is. And I hope everyone, delegates, you also can pick up a drink, because now will be the time to actually mingle. And let's, you know, we have a beautiful platform that was actually built for mingling and for networking. So let's utilize it. Let's make sure we talk to our sponsors, our wonderful sponsors who, again, have been making us able to make it happen. So let's do that, please. We'll be around for another hour and a half, chatting with all of you. So, and thank you so much, your delegates, for joining in and being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone who helped make this possible and everyone who came.
Sarah, where's your party music? You need to play some party music to play us out.
I've had this queued up for 2 days, just so everyone understands. I told all of my speakers we had a very hard stop, and I never got to use it because everyone was too amazing. So finally, finally.
Put it higher.
Finally, I can use
the shaming music. You had
my not so
shaming
idle
music.
threat.
I cannot believe it. All right. Well, good job to our speakers, I guess, for ending on time. And actually, we didn't have that many technical glitches. So thank you.
Nora, I'm playing us all.
Yeah, you're shaming me. All right. Bye, everyone.